Hoyoverse, your game has no chance if it's not from our company. Think again. Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, you know your game has no chance. It's a Hoyoverse. Hoyoverse is no stranger to the gacha gaming community. But how did Hoyoverse become so popular and successful within the gacha gaming community? My name is Kamis Yuxis, and today we're going to be breaking down the successful life of Hoyoverse. Studio MiHoYo, which is currently known as Hoyoverse, first started their gaming journey in 2011 with their first mobile game called Fly Me to the Moon. Fly Me to the Moon is a side-scroller game and actually the start to the Honkai series, which follows the main character Kiana Kislana and her journey to the moon. Now, although Fly Me to the Moon wasn't that successful of a game, MiHoYo had a plan to continue the lore of Kiana Kislana through their future games, as we see Kiana appear in two other MiHoYo projects known as Gun Girl Z and Honkai Impact 3rd. Now, Gun Girl Z was a shooting game that came out in 2013, but as of 2021, all servers have shut down. I believe the only server that still remains is the Japanese one, but you have to be in Japan to play it or have a VPN to play it. And as for Honkai Impact 3rd, it's actually still running and still doing pretty well. I know recently they talked about a revamp or a part 2 to their game, but Honkai Impact 3rd wasn't the game that actually blew up MiHoYo. It was more so the game that put MiHoYo on the map. Honkai Impact 3rd is a RPG fighting game that came out in 2016, and I'd like to believe that Honkai Impact 3rd was one of the few fighting games that really took gacha gaming fighting to the next level, with how smooth and immersive the combat looked, and was actually MiHoYo's biggest game for a while until 2020 hit, where everything changed for MiHoYo. Now, after the release of Honkai Impact 3rd, it didn't take MiHoYo that long to start development for a new game. Near the end of 2016, MiHoYo started development for Genshin Impact, where later in 2020, Genshin Impact would officially release. Genshin Impact would then go on to be MiHoYo's biggest game. But what caused Genshin Impact to become MiHoYo's biggest game? Genshin Impact was the first of its kind in the gacha gaming market, being an open world anime RPG game, taking massive inspirations from 2017's Game of the Year, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and what I believe to be the biggest reason, which was releasing Genshin Impact during the coronavirus. An arc in our lives where everyone was basically forced to stay home with nothing to do. And to the gacha gaming community, this was a massive moment. I mean, think about it. A gacha game that was based on the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which was available on mobile, PC, and console, with the co-op mode so you can play and talk to your friends even if you guys were not together, and was free for all players. And for gamers, that was the definition of perfection during the COVID arc. So almost every gamer booted up Genshin Impact and started their new journey in this new game, where within the first week, Genshin Impact would end up making tens of millions of dollars, reaching heights that no other gacha games have ever reached. Not to mention that Genshin Impact actually reached big time streamers such as Pokimane, Valkyrie, Jacksepticeye, and many more. This allowing gamers outside of the gacha community to try out something new for the first time to see if they'd like it or not. And to everyone's surprise, they did. By February 2022, Genshin Impact had been doing so good for MiHoYo that they decided to rebrand their studio name. MiHoYo would then become Hoyoverse so that they can expand its content production, technology research, and publications outside of China, having studios in Los Angeles, Singapore, Montreal, and many more. Hoyoverse became a world sensation. Due to the success of Genshin, Hoyoverse is now able to have online concerts, offline events, and many more across the entire world. Since their rebrand, Hoyoverse has shown their players that they're able to do more than just create a game, as they've been doing for the last few years, which is saying a lot since other gacha gaming studios don't partake in creating these types of events. Even though Hoyoverse has a successful game like Genshin Impact, the success of Genshin was not going to stop Hoyoverse from creating more successful games. A few years after Genshin's release, Hoyoverse decided to create a new game called Honkai Star Rail, which was also a gacha game but a turn-based RPG. Now, Honkai Star Rail isn't a direct sequel to Honkai Impact 3rd, but it does include some characters from Honkai Impact 3rd, such as Himiko, Seele, and Bronya. But Honkai Star Rail itself has actually been doing very well for Hoyoverse. I believe for the first 9 months, Honkai Star Rail actually actually generated more revenue a month than Genshin Impact, making Honkai Star Rail another successful game for Hoyoverse, and now having two of the top most successful gacha games running the gacha market. At this point, you might as well call Hoyoverse the Michael Jordan of gacha gaming. Hoyoverse has become so big that almost any game that Hoyoverse releases after Honkai Star Rail is almost guaranteed to be successful. Now, with the success of Hoyoverse comes a lot of money. So how much money is Hoyoverse worth right now? Now, obviously, I don't have the exact number for you guys, but from what I've researched, it seems to be within the range of 3 to 6 billion US dollars, which is quite a lot of money for a gacha gaming studio. I know they actually invested a lot of money into an anime that hasn't released yet, but is coming out for Genshin Impact. And honestly, with how Honkai Star Rail is doing, I think they honestly have enough money to make an anime for Honkai Star Rail as well. And it wouldn't be out of the question since Honkai Star Rail is doing fantastic. But overall, we don't have the exact number. I do know it is within that range. You can actually just tell from the monthly revenue charts we get from just mobile alone between Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail put together. But it's as clear as day to see that Hoyoverse will not fall anytime soon and is only going to grow from where they are right now. And whether you hate or love Hoyoverse, the facts remains. Now, I think everybody's aware that the future for Hoyoverse is looking very, very bright. Although I don't partake in any Hoyoverse activities, I do love seeing what they are able to do with all the money they have generated through their games. They have a new gacha game coming out July 14th called Zenless Zone Zero, and a lot of players are anticipating that game, especially since the aesthetic for that game is completely different from what other Hoyoverse games look like. It's actually another fighting RPG game just like Honkai Impact 3rd, but with different type of characters from humans to animals, even all the way to Oni. So I'll definitely be making a gacha reality check for that game when it comes out, but for now that's gonna be it for your boy Kamizuyaxis. I know lately Genshin Impact from Hoyoverse has been getting dragged down the mud a bit, so for just one time within this community I wanted to make a positive video about Hoyoverse at least. I know there are definitely some negatives, especially when it comes to Genshin Impact and the development team, but since this video is about the success of Hoyoverse, I didn't talk about any of that. But other than that, you guys like, share, subscribe, comment if you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys like or dislike about Hoyoverse, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Po-po!
Yes, call me.